Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today I have a member of a legendary Detroit group that started way back in 1969 and pretty much played everywhere. The whole Detroit scene opened up for a lot of national acts throughout the 70s. Today, my guest is the drummer from Salem Witchcraft. O'Shaughnessy. How you doing?
Good, Jimmy. Great to be on with you. Yeah, it's been some great years for the band, and got some great stories for you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about where the band started, where they originally from, what area.
Sure. I migrated from Columbus, Ohio, about 68, I think it was, quite some time ago. Now that I say that, 68, wow. But I came into Westland, Michigan, and obviously I've been moved around quite a bit through my life. I was born in England, came to Canada, then went down to Columbus. Yep, that's where I'll start my life there as a drummer. But I started down there when I was 14 in Columbus, and then came up here in 1968, which put me at about 15 or 16. So I met some guys in Westland that I became very close to, and still to this day. They were players, and they were just jamming in the basement, and for some reason they wanted to change out a couple players, and I was one of them that had the opportunity to kind of take over the drumming. And they were the original Salem Witchcraft, right, but they hadn't gigged yet. They were in the basement. So no, I don't think anybody was really hurt over the change. I always want to give credit to Bob Counter, who actually was with the band when it first started. And I believe the bass player at that time was Brian Moyson, I think it was. So those two guys were really, and then Dennis Lazarski and Mark Derrick, who we stayed with for a while. That was kind of the start of Salem Witchcraft. Like you said, late 69, Jim Duffy and I joined with Mark Derrick, Dennis Lazarski, and that's basically the Salem Witchcraft that started playing out, getting gigs and stuff. So that was the West Side. We were a West Side band. It was always a rival between us, and later on with Strut and all the guys from the East Side bands. And it was always a little edge. Bittersweet Alley, all those guys. It was pretty funny. Good times.
Well, let me ask you this: the name Salem Witchcraft, that kind of like Black Sabbath, gives off some kind of foreboding image. Yet none of the stuff I've really heard from you guys really states that. Do you have any idea how the original group came up with the name, or was there any personal reason for it, or anything behind that?
Well, I think acid had a lot to do with the name. Mark Derrick, who was our rhythm guitar and lead vocalist back in the 69 year there when we first got together, wonderful man. He did a little of that, and one night he was laying in bed, and I think he had just finished watching Salem's Lot or something, and the name came to him, and he just said, I think I got a really good name for the band, and he threw it out there. And yeah, you're right. Our music had nothing to do with that darkness, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Totally. It was, but there's a reason why we didn't follow that path. We did, in a sense, with a lot of the antics. We had splash pots.
Sure.
I've got a story that when we opened for Kiss, I'll name some names here in a minute. I'll start name dropping. I'm good at it.
Okay.
But no, we opened Kiss, and Steve Fortner, he was a real big wig with the Al Nally family out in Ann Arbor, the Nally Music, or people that managed Brownsville Station. Let's see who was out there. Roger Shalide was an agent, started booking us. But anyway, Steve was on hiatus, and he was just kind of loose. And I forget what year this was. Must have been 78, 9, around in there. And Steve knew that we were opening for Kiss. He says, can I tag along? And yeah, come on, you can be our road manager for the day. So we were going out to Grand Rapids. It was a big ice rink out there. It was just us and Kiss, and we got in, and he said, you ought to be a little bit on the edge with these guys, because they got a huge show with, pyro and all this stuff. Right. We kind of knew what was going on. So he goes across the street to Kroger, and he comes back with a bag full of foil, like Reynolds Wrap.
Right.
He says, you gotta make fun of this kind of thing. You gotta do this. He talked us into putting foil all over us to kind of mock the band.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to go into this pretty lengthy story. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we did that. We were the opening act, so and we were all layered up aluminum foil. And being a drummer, I must have only played half a song, and I felt like a baked potato. And I'm going, what the hell, man? I ripped it all off, and I'm looking over at Steve on the side of the stage. He's laughing his ass off. Then I look on the other side of the stage, and believe it or not, it was Peter Criss staring at me. And I'm going, this isn't going to be good. So anyway, we finished our set. They didn't really say anything, but you know, I came back to watch them on the side of the stage. I could see Peter's anger, like, you idiots, what are you doing, you know?
Right.
Anyway, so that was the story, half of it. Now, the backstory to that is, years later, and I can't remember what year, we were playing a club in Cadillac called the Hines, and it was a really hip club for rock and roll. Great concert room. They had a house, band house, so you'd stay there. It was really nice.
Wow.
It was done well. So Peter Criss, his band, it was called Peter Criss and Alliant. They were from Nashville.
Okay.
He'd left Kiss already.
Right.
He had his band there. We were the opening act for Peter. And so we played, and we had a couple different players at that time. But so we did our opening set, watched those guys, and you know, they were just sort of like a bar band. They didn't really did a big show or anything like that. It was okay. And so they got done with that, and we were just hanging out in the back of the bar and just, you know, having a smoke or whatever. And I hear this bus rumbling, like just like an idol. And I go, I wonder what that is. So I go around further back, and there's this bus sitting there, and I go, that's got to be Peter's bus. So, and I thought about the time what we did,
Right.
and I said, this would be a great opportunity to say, you know, that was really stupid, sorry, you know, kind of thing, kind of make amends with him at least.
Yeah.
So I pound on the door, and this big old guy comes up, opens up the door. He says, "What do you want?" And I go, "Well, you know, I'm the drummer in the opening act. You know, and Peter around?" He says, "Yeah, come on in." So I go on in, you know, and I sit down. And I told Peter, I says, "Look, that was really stupid and it's just inappropriate, but you know, it just happened." And he's laughing and stuff, and you know, everybody's had a bowl going, whatever.
He remembered it then?
He kind of did. You know, he'd been through so much. It was like, he was kind of welcomed me. He understood where I was in it, but whether he did or didn't, I don't know.
Right.
But anyway, he received my apologies, so that was cool. So and then we started chatting. I said, "This is a beautiful bus." It was a cherry red, white leather tuck, I think they call it, on the interior. It was gorgeous, but it was really old.
Right.
I go, "Peter, this bus is amazing." He's going, "Yeah, it was Pat Boone's. I bought it from Pat Boone. Remember Pat Boone?"
Yeah, of course.
And I go, "Get out!" And he goes, "Yeah, I bought it from Pat Boone with all the money from Beth." He made, you know, he says he made good money when he did that. And I just read a whole story about that song. It was kind of weird that I brought that up.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, he was real gracious. And I said, "I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to get that off my chest and, you know, wish you luck and all that stuff." So it was really good. It was good.
That's really So that show you opened for him, that you did the aluminum foil thing, you said that was around 78? Do you think it's 78? Is that right?
I'm thinking. I'm the worst with dates. I know the band went till about 80. Maybe it was later. Could have been later.
Because I would have thought it might have been earlier, because, I mean, you know, they were a major stadium band.
Okay, then you could be right, Jimmy. Yeah, it's probably earlier. Be 75.
Yeah,
maybe
I would think somewhere like that. If they were playing someplace like that, you know, because usually when they came to town, it was always like Cobo Arena. They would be playing the city. Not that they didn't do, you know, shows like that also, but, and what was the name of this bar or whatever that you said you just...
It was a Grand Rapids ice rink. I think it's still there when you're driving down, was it 96 when you do Grand Rapids?
Yeah.
It's on the left, I think on the west side of Grand Rapids. But
oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of... Yeah, that was probably earlier 70. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I'm saying that is I know you played with a lot of well-known national acts. One of the ones that comes to mind that I saw a story, and earlier today I was watching a video of you guys from a while ago, probably quite a while ago, because the place is not there anymore, where you guys were in a contest to open up for Bon Jovi at the Palace, and they were interviewing you, and they were talking about an Aerosmith show that you guys did, where you opened up for Aerosmith.
I'll tell you what. Well, let me do a backstory on why we had the opportunity to open for a lot of big bands, and it was really a cool setup, how it worked. And we got bought by going to a show, and I can't remember the acronym, but it was like CCA or something like that, where it's College Concerts Association. And you as a band and your manager would go to this event, and all the college concert coordinators for big concerts would come and review and package opening acts and national acts.
Right.
And we did really well with that, and we did it I think a couple of years in a row. And we were opening, I mean, I got a list here: Cooper, Alvin Lee, Angel, Dave, go on and on and on.
Yeah, I know you played with everybody.
So that was a really good thing, and I don't know if they still do it, but because colleges still bring in bands, I don't know. But to get to the Aerosmith show, That was at IMA Stadium in Flint, which is no longer there.
Right.
So we get to the venue, and it was about 3 p.m, and our road crew was, bringing stuff in, and we're just kind of hanging out. Aerosmith was practicing, and they were running down. I forget, it was a Beatles song. I forget what song it was, but they were trying to do. Joey was trying to figure this drum beat out, and he could not get it. It just was helter skelter.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it was a great song, and they were doing a nice version of it. It was really cool. He just couldn't get it, and Steven was just getting so pissed.
Yeah, he's a drummer too, so that would.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know that at the time. So I'm setting up my kit, staging it behind the main stage just to be ready to get it up there for sound check.
Mm-hmm.
And they were done. He'd had enough. He just said, the hell with it. And he comes around the corner and he's going, wow, nice kit. I had this Octopus Ludwig, kind of a blonde concert tom, really nice drum kit. Yeah, it was really sweet. So he comes around the corner and he goes, man, what a nice kit. And I was tuning them. And I had this reputation of tuning my drums to key, to notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would spend hours, I'd have my keyboard player take 2 9-volt batteries and set it on a B note or a C note and leave me alone, and I'm going to tune my drum kit, and I'd do it that way with all the drums. So I learned a lot by doing that. But anyway, he comes around and he says, whoa, nice kit. Do you mind if I play him? And I go, oh, no, not at all, man. How you doing? Kind of introduce ourselves real quick. He sits down and he plays a nice little lick all the way around the drum kit, and he goes, man, you sound great. And I go, well, I work real hard on the tunings, and I could tell. And so we started chatting. I said, so, what's going on with the, Aerosmith? You guys doing all right? He's going, I said, it sounds like it. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, I haven't made a effing dime for the last 3 albums. And I'm going, what? I'm thinking to myself, here's a headliner, Flint IMA. You still haven't got any residuals yet from albums. It was kind of a discouraging statement in my book, but, they were at their, I will say this, and I mean all due respect, because look where they are today, but, they were at that point where we actually heard their management company in the green room, because we were right across the hall, screaming at them to get it together, else they're done. And it was that moment that we knew that if they didn't, turn it around, they were going to get dropped. And they did. They turned it around, they cleaned themselves up, got back in the saddle, and look at where they are today. So it's a bittersweet story, because we saw them really, they were not in good form that night. As a matter of fact, there's an article where we did a nice job and they had sort of a bad night. Some real anger going on that afternoon.
Yeah, it kind of said something about like that was their first headlining tour or something like that. Was that correct? Yeah,
that might have been it, yeah. But I think they were, I'm just going to guess here, but I think he mentioned Toys. I think they were pushing Toys.
Third album then, yeah.
So that's where he was at. They were just all really angry, beat up,
right, sure,
from the road. But
that and a lot of drugs. They did a lot of drugs in that band, especially Steven and Joe. So
right, sure, yeah. They another thing too. Not Steve, Joe, not Joe. Who's the other guitarist? There's Steven, Joe on drums, Joey on drums, Brad, and what's the other guitarist?
Well, there's Joe Perry on guitar, Brad Whitford on guitar.
Yeah, Joe Perry. He had such a problem with eyesight. They would keep a safety line with the the light tape that glows in the dark tape. I forget what they call that.
Right.
But they had to outline the stage because he could not see.
Really?
He had a real vision issue, and I don't know what it was, and I never really heard anything. I don't think it was publicized that much.
Right.
But that was they were all great players. There's no question. They were really, really good artists. I could tell that for sure.
Yeah. Well, the thing you were talking about earlier when you were saying that Joey had said he hadn't made a dime on the first 3 albums. From what I understood, with a lot of artists in those days that were under contract wouldn't make much money at first because the record label owned all the rights to everything. A lot of the bands weren't smart enough to hire lawyers to get publishing rights and all sorts of stuff like that. So, yeah, that could be very discouraging for any band going through that didn't have the proper management or the know-how to do that. But that, from what I understand, talk to other artists from that time and all that was fairly common, actually.
Yeah.
But, and it's a shame because, they did go on to bigger and bigger things.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't get it at the time when he said it. You're right, Jimmy. I relating back to the early days of these one-hit wonder guys that made nothing, you know what I mean, and never did make anything.
Right.
So that kind of relates to that. But then I understood, the upfront deposit for the album costs and things like that.
Exactly.
And then you got to go work and play that back.
Right.
So I got it after a while, but it was just kind of a shocking statement coming from someone that I kind of idolized, if you will, because they were a good rock and roll band. It's basically they're our American Rolling Stones.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. All right, well, let's get back to Salem Witchcraft here.
Yeah.
When did you guys, or had the original band probably not done anything as far as writing original material, or did that come along more or less when you joined the group and it was reframed as far as that? Were they doing mostly covers at that time?
We had started with covers. We had our first keyboard player was David Hall. He's no longer with us. So we added a keyboard player. So there was, I should back up a bit here. So it was Jim Duffy, myself, and then we had Arlen Baselli. So we were a trio for just a short time. And we said, this isn't sounding real full. We were all kind of like wanting to have a fuller sound on stage. So we added Dave Hall as a keyboard player. Wonderful guy, great vocalist, great player. We ended up getting into a club on 7 and Gratiot. It used to be Trax. Before Trax, it was called Mr. M's Peppermint Lounge. How we got in? Well, we had a manager, but he must have hung out there or something. But anyway, we got in there and we were playing 5 nights a week, 5 sets, 5 nights, whatever. I mean, it was a lot of work, but that's where the core of the band started to really come together. And that was 71 right in there. 70, I would say 71. And Arlen, who the guitarist that came into the group, already had some originals. Bass player, new bass player, Jim Duffy, he had some originals. I didn't write a thing. I was the techie guy. I was the guy who would bring the recorders and record everything and throw it back in everybody's face. And
that's necessary, so that's a good job to have.
When I had, you guys suck, I meant me, all of us together. Listen to this shit, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. We'd always have fun with that, but they, on the road, I'd always play back. Shut that stuff off. No, you're going to listen to this. I'm going to make you. It's a mirror. That's how you learn. Yeah, we started, taking some of our original material and working it, throwing it out there, and we always used to say, here's a new one from Boston, or here's a new one from Ian Anderson.
Yeah.
People don't know. They don't get it.
Exactly.
They love it more just because you threw the name on it.
That's right. It's a good way of doing it.
It's a good way to at least get it out there without someone going, they're going to play an original.
Yeah, let it all have a smoke.
A few songs started to cultivate from being together so much, and we would rehearse. We rented a garage in Garden City for $50 a month, and that's where we put our gear, and that's where we'd rehearse and record on a reel-to-reel 2-track or whatever, just to play it back and listen to it. So then it went on from there. But I'll tell you this one story here. This is a good one. We had a manager, Bob Drake. His heart was so into promoting the band, but managers they've got a window of time and space, and if you grow out of that, they're in the dust. It's just the way it is. It's sad, but that's just the way it is. But anyway, we started with Bob, and he was a great guy. We were at Mr. M's. We were rehearsing one afternoon, and he goes, when's your next practice? We said, well, it was maybe like a Tuesday. I said, well, we'll probably be here Thursday afternoon doing some stuff. And he goes, okay, I'm going to bring some people in. All right, cool. So we got there about 3 o'clock, and we fired everything up. We're jamming, and he comes in with these 2 African-American gentlemen, and he sits down with them, and we're sitting there, talking to him, just kind of being courteous to him for bringing some guys in to listen to the band, right? But they really didn't listen to us play. They just wanted to meet with us. Anyway, they bring out this little, you've probably seen these recorders, the old 4-inch that was on Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah.
One of those. It was sitting on the table. They go, we're looking for a band, of your type. They didn't really say it, but they said, of your type, with a little edge, and we want to play you this song and see if you can emulate it. See if we can hear you play this. Not today, but down the road.
Right.
So he turns the recorder on and plays it back. We didn't like it. It was just a song that just didn't do anything for us, right? So, and we're a little bit cocky at that time, and we thought, oh, well, we got our own stuff. We don't need that. So they leave, and Bob Drake, the manager, I feel so bad for him. He goes, do you know what you guys just did? He should have told us, really, but he says, you know who you just turned down? We go, who? He goes, Holland Dozier and Holland.
Oh, no.
I go, no way. We started to understand what was going on.
Right.
And he goes, you know what song that was, right? Well, I'll tell you right now what song that was that he played for us.
Yeah.
Was Band of Gold by Rita Payne.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So it was one of those moments where, you know, I think about those things later in my life, you know, the regrets, the stupid decisions that you make. It's like, why weren't we just open to that and go, yeah, we'll give it a try.
Right.
It could have been us, you know, as the band on the track. Who knows? Yeah. But, you know, to shun those guys away after all the hits that they had, that they'd written, and just their reputation. So anyway.
What was the first record that you guys recorded, official 45?
A song, a second keyboard player after David left. We had Ken Revakamp came in, and great keyboard player. He'd written a song called Just Looking, and I can tell you a story about that. It was a really cool little pop song, and we had a lot of fun putting it together. We went to a studio in Garden City, close to where we kind of all were. Livonia, Plymouth, Garden City, Westland was kind of our area. And Mike Migel owned this little storefront, and it was a recording studio. And I believe he was just 8-track at that time. And he was a friend of guitar player Arlen Vaselli. And he says, why don't you come on in and let's record some stuff. You know, the band was starting to get a little bit of a following and stuff. We're in there recording, Just Looking, and he says, you guys ought to get this press. It's really good. So we followed through and got a few press. He says, I think he gave it to Bob Drake, our manager at that time. Can't remember if there was a connection there with that record. But one day we were driving to Ann Arbor. I think we were going out to see the Nally family, you know, the people that booked us once in a while and hang out at the music store, that kind of thing. We were all in the car together. And I think someone had mentioned that they were going to play Just Looking on Wham Radio. Remember Wham in the Ann Arbor, Ypsi area? It was a WAAM AM station. You could see the tower from 94, I think it was. But anyway, we're driving, and it was just the same thing as That Thing You Do. You know, that's that we heard our record on the radio, and we went nuts in the car.
Oh, of course.
You know, there's nothing like that. I'll tell you that right now. Even though it was AM and it was kind of a small station, but we did have the excitement, you know, almost like that movie. But yeah, so that was the first real single that kind of just gave us that spirit, you know, kind of launched our interest in recording more and getting better at it and writing better. And
did that recording ever get on like Riff, W4ABX in those days?
No, that one didn't. The next one did, I believe, was Rock and Roll Lover. Now one, Rock and Roll Lover, was played in Canada a lot. We did a lot in Windsor and London and Chatham and that all the way up that stretch right there. But we had a real good following in Canada. That record went real well. Ronnie Legg, does that sound familiar to you? He was on CJOM. He played the hell out of that, and he used to come and see us, and we hung out, and I got pictures of that was, you know, with him. And he was a crazy guy, but he was really good to us. You know, he really liked the band and was genuine about it, and so he put the record on for us. So that one did pretty good.
Now, was that just out for radio, like promotional, or did you have it for sale at your shows or the stores anywhere?
We didn't have that. No, we did not. The next record, a little bit more, and we had a better grip on how to work, if you will.
Okay.
And that was Sandman. That was a ballad.
Yes.
And that was Arlen wrote that song, and we all put our 2 cents on it. We recorded that at, I think it was Pampa Lanes over there it's where I know that it's where Bob Seger did Rambling Gambling. That was the big thing that, you know, this is the studio where Bob did Rambling Gambling. Okay,
cool.
That's cool. Yeah, so we recorded Sandman there, and that's when we started doing the college tours. So that record went out to a lot of the college stations that we were in, the cities that we were playing, you know, like Central Michigan, Grand Rapids, all these different colleges and stuff. So that was a really good record. It's number one on some of those charts. You know, I've got some of those play charts. It was number one, and we did well with it. It did. I'm trying to think of the backstory on Sandman. Oh, here's a good one. We were at DMA in Southfield, 12 Mile and Southfield Road. That was their offices there. They managed and did a lot of agency work for all the bands around town. Nugent, Nazareth, you name it. All the East Side bands too. But we were sitting in there one day, and I think we were just going over a calendar. Nick Harris said, you guys need a bigger show. And this is when they were kind of taking over from our other manager that was working with us. But so he gets on the phone and he calls Foreigner's agency. And so he says, all right, I got a band I want to put on this show. Because I think they were actually promoting that show. And it was at Central Rose Arena, Central Michigan. And I don't know how many seats it was. It was maybe 2,000-3,000, I'm just guessing. But it was a big show. So he says, look, I'm going to give you Salem Witchcraft. Just be you, Salem and Foreigner. And it'll be a nice show. And he says, I want you to take real good care of them. Because as you know, Jim, in those days, the opener got half power, half light.
Right.
And it really was just trying to show yourself, because you really didn't get treated that great. He was putting the hammer on the agent for the Foreigner, saying, look, we're going to do this together. I want these guys, it's time for these guys to have a nice show. So they agreed. They said, okay. Man, we got to the arena, and I tell you what, I sat down on my drum kit. I had my own roadie, my own tech standing there. He goes, what do you like to hear in your monitor? And I go, well, I like to hear on my kick and my snare drum, whatever else I can get. He says, oh, no problem. I said, do you want all your toms? I go, that'd be nice. He said, how about some vocals? Yeah, a little bit of vocals. Yeah, and I'm just, yeah. And so I had two giant stacks behind me, and then so I hit my kick drum, and my hair just goes poof, like forward, I'm going, holy crap, this is going to be good. So he goes, do you want those toms in stereo? And I go, you mean like left and right? He's going, yeah, that stack's left and that stack's right. What do you want? So that was the most, gracious way to say, we're giving you everything you got, we got, so, right. And then the lights were just all aimed for us, or half, just the ones they could. So here's the point, that they took such great care of us that when we got up there, we knew the power too was really good. I could tell when I was hitting my drums. So we opened with a cover song that we had rearranged called Stagger Lee. We had seen a band, that's a great song. Yeah, it's just a good shuffle. We saw Savage Grace, and I think it wasn't the bar band Savage Grace, it was a bigger Savage Grace. Yeah. And almost at the same time, but they were playing Wampler's Lake Pavilion, and I don't know, we all just went out there to see them, and they did that song, and they had a nice white grand piano, and it's a piano kind of song, kind of a rockabilly kind of thing, and they played it, and we just were like, wow, what a great cover song. So we stole it, we opened with that, nothing. This is with Foreigner, everybody's just kind of, you just hear the chatter, you didn't hear anything. So our second song was something else, I can't remember. It wasn't an original. We were trying to get them with covers, right? First. Yeah. So I think it was another cover song. I said, after we finished that, I looked over to Arlen and I said, you better break it out. Right. And he goes, all right. So he played like 2 chords of Sandman. And because they didn't know who the hell we were, only from record play, all the lighters went up. Cool. And it was probably as great a feeling as listening to your record on the radio. Oh, right. Just see the connection. They didn't know who we were until they heard 2 or 3 chords of Sandman. And that was what was playing in their area, in Central Michigan.
Do you remember what tour that would have been with Foreigner? In other words, what album they were promoting? Was it early on?
It was early, yeah. All these stories are going to be old, but
I know.
But memorable.
Right.
They were doing Cold as Ice, and
okay.
And I think is it? I want to say Graham. Is that the lead singer?
Yeah, Lou Graham.
He went back and played drums on Cold as Ice.
Really?
That blew my mind. Yeah, that was something different. I go, I didn't know, whatever, because we were watching them. Yeah, they were terrific, and man, they got done and they just ran out the back with towels on their heads. It was kind of a cold. Yeah, and I said, well, that's how you do it. You just get the hell out of the the venue and get to the next one.
Was there any promotion for that?
Yeah, no. The only thing, Jimmy, that they did was put our song in heavier rotation.
Oh.
And that's why I say it was such a surprise that they didn't know, connect the name opening for Foreigner. They did not, they had no interest in the band until we played the song that they'd been drilled with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's what you mean. That was good promo for that show for us in a way of sound, not really visual, obviously. Right. Back then, with social media, today, it's like, I remember walking into Channel 7, ABC, the RIP building over there, and we were trying to push a record. I forget which one it was. It might have been Sandman. And we forget the jock that we were seeing. It wasn't. Anyway, we got this record. They go, what do you guys want? Yeah. Well, we got a record we want to talk to you about. He goes, hey, keep it down, man. There was a guy on the couch, and it was the guitar player for all my brothers. Trashed on the couch in his office. I'm trying to think of the jock's name. Anyway, he's retired now, obviously, but
Right.
I mean, that's how you did it back then. We go to all the college stations,
Yes.
take our records, and go in there and go, hey, will you play this and see what you think, kind of thing. And that's an old story for everybody that goes back as far as I do. But
yeah, that would have been common in those days. Now, getting back a little bit to the Foreigner story, only in relationship to when you guys would open up for national acts like them or Aerosmith. Did you have to? Were you told to, or it was just part of your setup to do like more covers than original? Were you doing more covers, or were you pushing more originals, or was it gradual?
Take the latter on that. It was gradual because we were a little bit timid about it. We never really had anybody come up to us and go, "You got to play covers, or you got to play originals." There was no dictation of our set list that I can remember. Later on, there was a story where we opened for Alice Cooper at the Freedom Hill, just as a reunion kind of thing for us. It was fun. It was a good show.
Right. I saw some.
I'm out of chronological order here, but it goes to that. We were open. Rockets were there. We were open. It was us, Rockets, and Alice, and someone came up to us because they saw our set list on my drum kit or something, and it had "Get Out of Denver" by Bob Seger. Duffy and I sang it, almost to a T. And they go, "Oh, you can't play that song." And we go, "Why not?" Because we're doing it. Well, we didn't care about that. We played it anyway.
Who was doing it? Rockets?
The Rockets were doing "Get Out of Denver," and they did it too. So whatever. It's one of those. That's one of those rival things where, we're here, we're opening, we get first choice, I think. But there was some banter about that. I won't give names, but there was banter about whether we should play that or not. Anyway, we did it because it was a good song for us.
Yeah, it's a great song. Still is.
You know what? As a drummer and singing that line, Charlie Martin from the Silver Bullet Band, he's a good friend of mine. We hang out. He's been in my studio upstairs and stuff. And I just popped something online the other day. I found a snare drum. I'm kind of off topic here, but I found a snare drum, and it was a really old chrome. I hadn't played a chrome snare in ages. It was a Premier. It was a Premier from England, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna just do a little teaser here. So I played the beginning of Donnie Brewer's intro to "We're an American Band," which is and I didn't steal it. It's just it's there, but it wasn't easy to play, and I never knew how he did it. I kind of knew how he did it, but I didn't want to do it that way because it just wasn't working for me.
Right.
So I did it my own way. And I told the story online that one day Charlie came over, and this is when he was still in his wheelchair, and he was unable to walk or play. My son, Jake, he carried him upstairs in the studio. We had a little get-together over here. And I said, let me play you the lick Bo Diddley, the way I interpret it. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. He's all excited. And I sit down, I play this half-ass thing, and he was rolling. He was laughing his ass off. And I start to laugh, and I'm going, come on, it isn't that bad, is it? He said, it's terrible. He goes, let me tell you how to play it. And he said, couldn't show me, obviously, but he said, let me tell you how to play it. So he told me how to do it, and I still can't do it his way. And I said, that's your signature riff in there, in Bo Diddley. And it's a nice drum break. And so we had a laugh.
Did you guys cover, I know you did Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. I saw that on one of the videos.
Oh,
that was incredible.
That was my arrangement. That one I'll take credit for.
Excellent arrangement, an excellent version of that. Did you guys ever do any Led Zeppelin at all?
Yeah, we did. We played at Harpo's for New Year's Eve. We opened for Mitch Ryder. I don't know what the year was, but we had a really nice show, and we ended with rock and roll.
Right, I was going to ask you about that song.
Yeah, that's a real nice song, man. I love the way everybody thought it was coming in on the 1 and actually comes in on 3. And I didn't want to I could do it, but I didn't want to mess with it because I like to be comfortable on stage. I don't overplay. I'm more of a rock steady kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I said to the guys, I said, look, this is how it goes. I'm counting through it. I said, and they're going, what? Yeah, what? And I'm going, never mind. I'll play it the way you hear it, not the way it is, but the way you guys hear it.
Because that's another one I played in bands with. The drummers could never quite get that intro right, get it right. It was another one. Of course, Bonham was legendary and had his own style too.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk a little bit, jumping a little bit forward from the Salem Witchcraft. The band obviously kind of went away for a while and came back and did reunions and all that, and morphed into Hines Drive. Tell me a little bit about Hines Drive, because I've seen Hines Drive. Believe it or not, I saw Hines Drive play at a church. St. Robert's Church when it used to be here, over here in Redford. I saw you guys play there and all that. What was the deal with that? Why morph into a different name? Was that just because you were going to do more covers or different kind of material? What was that all about?
That band actually was, you talking about a full band? Because there was two versions of that band, and I was in both. First version was like a 6-piece band. Was it a bigger band?
Actually, it was a small.
Just 3?
Yeah, I think it was just 3, yes.
And that's the beauty of that 3-piece thing. We kind of started a trend in Detroit. We'll take credit for this too, because the later years in life, people were not going out as late. And so people wanted to listen to music a little earlier, have a dinner with their band. And we played, that was a trio. And that was 2 acoustic guitars and me on a drum pad.
That's exactly what it was.
I only had 10 years that we played together. Only one person said to me, I'm really missing a bass guitar. I tuned my kick drum, which was an electronic triggered, and I tuned it way down so that it felt like to the layman. Right. And it worked. Another part of that trend that I'm getting to is we were really vocal. We tried to emulate 3-part as much as we possibly. The other part of that was, we went, when we shopped the band, a few local clubs, we didn't throw Salem Witchcraft around. We didn't do that. We just said, look, we were former members, because Mark was the one, Mark Derrick, he came back, because Arlen Vaselli came in 71-ish, like I said, but we always kept in touch with Mark. I'll see Mark tomorrow. He's coming over. I got a whole new project. Cool. He's coming over to rehearse with me tomorrow. Anyway, he was a main member and founding member of Salem Witchcraft. So we didn't keep the name because Arlen had gone on his way. So out of respect, we just said, let's give it another name. And Mark, once again, the wordsmith, comes up with Hines Drive. I said, that's a great name.
It is.
Everybody used to hang out, down
still
there.
Do. People still do. Yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah, I was on it today, going somewhere. But anyway, so that trio was really successful in playing early and during dinner, like a dinner set, and then 2 more sets out by 10. I was home by 10:30, 11 o'clock sometimes.
Will you bring in a scaled-down version of your kit to that? I don't remember it, because it didn't seem like a real big kit as correlation to what you would have used. What
funny thing about that, Jimmy, it was a really low-end, I can't think of the make of it, but it was just pads, right? It was just the electronic pads with the monitor. But yeah, it was one I could carry in one hand, with my left hand, and something else on my right hand, and maybe make one more trip, and I was in.
So that's the best kind of gig, isn't it? Easy in and easy out, as you said. The less hardware, the better.
People would say to me, what's your goal in life as a drummer? I'd say to travel lighter every day of my life.
Yeah, that was the thing. I give drummers credit, man. You guys always had the most time required to set up and then to tear down. And the bands I played with, we never had roadies, so our drummers would always do it themselves, and they're always pissing and moaning. You guys just got an amp and a guitar. I got to move all this.
And I love the lead singer. I had another band. It was called The Shindig, and we had a lead singer, right? That's all he'd bring is this mic stand and a really tiny duffel bag with his tambourine and his mic in it. And he'd always come about 30 seconds before showtime.
I'm here. Let's go.
I love the guy. Dennis Quinn. What a great man. He's not with us anymore, but he was a very good man, and loved him.
So what's going on now? Is there, as far as recordings, is there anything available from the Salem Witchcraft other than the stuff that's like on YouTube? Can you buy an album by there, or CD or whatever?
Yeah, the CD, the reunion CD, the one that you referred to with Eleanor Rigby, is out there. It's available, and it's so weird that we're talking today. I just saw, how the memories come up on Facebook.
Right.
We were playing it's the old State Theater. I can't think of the name of it, downtown. And anyway.
The Fillmore?
Fillmore. It was another Rockets and Fillmore show.
Right.
Or Salem show. So we were at the Fillmore. We recorded I forget the person that did the recording. It was very gracious of him to hand it over. But there was a song on there, and it was an original. It was the CD title, The Fire's Still Burning.
Right.
And real good song. Jim Duffy wrote it. I really liked it. It was some good parts in it, some challenging parts. So we recorded that, and I made an ad out of it for the CD. And it's on Facebook right now. I just shared it again. I'm real careful about what I share that comes up, But that one I said, someone just requested a CD the other day, and they wanted to just buy it. And I said, well, you got to go to our site.
Right. That's where I was moving. Is that where to purchase it, through your site?
Yeah, it's SalemWitchcraftBand.com. There's a couple of CDs. Actually, there's the one from Hines Drive.
Yes. I
one
think I
too.
saw that you had one with them too. Now, is that one all original, or is there covers on that?
That's mostly covers. There's a couple originals on there, but we did our own, interpretations, arrangements of a few songs with Hines Drive on that one. And then the Salem one has a remake of Sandman on it, which came out really nice. Because after all those years, after the gigs, you don't want to change a song that's doing well.
Right.
You just keep it as the same, But after a while, we said, let's rework that song. We had do you remember Henry Weck, the drummer for Brownsville Station?
Yes.
He came in he was like a Nally guy. So Al Nally in Ann Arbor housed all these different bands, the Rationals, we'd all hang out sometimes. Right. He came into our rehearsal one time. He said, I want to produce you guys. And okay, Henry, no problem. So, and he had a recording studio in Ann Arbor. So we went out to record 4 or 5 songs. He was always always trying to get us, somewhere a little bit further down the road. He says, I know you guys had Sandman going real well. He says, I'd like to break that down a little bit with you guys. And we go, sure. Let's take another look at it, So he gave us some of the harmonies. Instead of doing the standard 1-3-5 harmony with it, he's a drummer. But he was a really good person to really break things down vocally, and he did a great job. He gave us some new harmonies, and then so we brought those into that reunion CD, and we recorded that at my studio, in my home studio, and my son engineered it, did a great job. So when you listen to that, I'll send you the CD if you want. Send me your information. I'll probably have it. Great. I'll send you a couple, and we're real proud of it. There's originals from Jim, originals from Arlen. Tony Ruta played the keys on it. Wonderful. He's got jazz root. So he was like looking at our rock and roll going, well, why don't you do this? We go, no, Tony, it's rock and roll.
Are you any kind of an archivist? In other words, do you have some of in your own personal collection, some of these original 45s that you put out? Did you keep any of that stuff, or did you lose it?
Nope, I'm the archive keeper. I've got a few things that I could share with you for sure.
That's awesome, because I guess I found a lot of stuff on YouTube, some of the videos you've done.
Right.
One of them, it doesn't come to mind, I'm sure it will to you. You were doing some kind of Cablevision show. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And all of a sudden, there's what sounded to me like canned applause. And then the band starts playing, but there's no microphones. Did you guys do some kind of cable show back in the day where you guys had to lip sync?
Yeah, there's a piece. I put it online many years ago, but I'll come back to that story in a minute. But WDIV had this show called Stars of Tomorrow. Can't remember the host. He just did a local thing. Right. But here's the caveat to that story. We're playing 2 of our originals. They're tracking it, and we're just pantomiming. And we did have microphones on that particular show, so that was kind of cool. It looked a little bit real, kind of close. So we're doing the rehearsal before the actual live. I don't know if it was live or tape. I can't remember. Oh, it must have been tape because I have it. Anyway, so I'm looking at the big door, the studio door, the big giant door, and it opens up, and there is Chuck Gatica standing there, right? and so we were done. I get off the stage and I walk over, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Chuck Gatica. I'm the new weatherman for Channel 4." Right. And I don't know if he started there. I think that's where we were. So it had to have been that's where he went, or he was shopping himself. I don't know. I always remember that. I can see it now. That door open, and then Chuck Gatica going looking at the set. But yeah, back to that cable show. If it's the one I'm thinking of, I showed it to my wife the other day. She'd never seen it, and I said, "You want to laugh?" I'm standing. I forgot my stool, so I'm standing and playing the regular drum kit, standing up. And my son played. He's a great drummer. My son.
Were you actually standing or crouched? Because it did look like
I was standing fully up.
Oh wow!
But because it was canned, I didn't have to do too much. But he goes, "Man, you did all those breaks just right with standing up and all this stuff." And I'm like, whatever. It was one of those funny. But it was like a two camera shoot or something. I can't remember.
That was fun though. Did they just not have a mic stand that you could have there to even project? Somebody might actually be singing, because that looked really kind of corny. The song was great and all that, but it's just like, to me that would have been almost embarrassing to do.
So I can top embarrassing with that situation. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The guy's name was George Young. You remember a George Young? He was like the Detroit MC. He do a lot of MCing. Anyway, great guy, very nice man. But he'd run this telethon every year, almost like what Mitch Albom does.
Right.
But this was on channel 62 or 50. I can't.
Right.
62. So they wanted us to play, and we get there. They said you'll probably be on around 11 o'clock, and this is when Sandman was going real well.
Right.
And it was pressed to 45, so we get there at 11 o'clock, and we didn't. All the gear was, the back line was there, so we just had to sit down and play to the record. So we sit down to the record. They had one of those like an RV where they made it like a production truck.
Right.
And I have a picture of the guy actually playing something for somebody, but I had to take a picture after the fact because somebody bumped him and the record skipped and we were totally lost on stage. I don't have video of it, but I've got pictures of it, and it's like, what are we doing? And we didn't go on till 4 a.m., sorry. So we sat there for like 5 hours waiting. It kept pushing back, and I had a check, as a donation, and it's like, I go up there to talk to George, and I'm half asleep. I'm going, okay, we got some money for you here, whatever. But I'll never forget, that was a real topper when that record skipped. We just looked at each other and go, where are we?
That's funny so they were actually playing the 45, the physical 45, that they wouldn't have transferred that to some kind of tape or reel-to-reel or something, just to avoid that possible scenario. Because anything could have caused that.
You'd think they would have done something, but when I walked over there, he was playing turntable shit.
And how is that? Because I've seen that done before. How is that for a drummer to actually have to try and play that way and try and emulate what you're actually playing on the record, as far as being sure not to actually hit the drums too hard, cause any other kind of interference? Were you rehearsed for that? Did you guys actually have to rehearse? Did you rehearse in a practice to say, okay, let's rehearse playing to our record or anything like that?
We did rehearse the two that we did on that Stars of Tomorrow,
right?
Because we knew that there would be multi-cameras, and you can't be caught sleeping in that one. Right. So we did rehearse those two songs. I actually had a pretty good monitor, in other words, to overdrive the level of the drums, so I got to actually hit the drums.
Oh, okay.
And I actually took cardboard rings with me, just forethought. I believe I did use them in there, but I got to play my full strength, and I still felt the music, if you know what I mean.
Right,
they had a good monitor for them. It was decent, and they had multiple monitors because they had a dance crowd.
Right.
So it was like a DJ dance thing. So it was pretty good. I mean, there was no guitars going, so it was just me, and it was kind of a thuddy sound. I think I put the cardboard on there just so I could hit harder. That's what I did. Yeah, the guys. Yeah, it was crazy, man. That was a really good gig on. There was a lot of local bands on there. I can't remember who was on there. The names aren't around anymore. It was a good show. A lot of fun.
What were some of the clubs that you played at in the early days here in the Detroit area? The reason I'm asking that, I'm sure a lot of these clubs either changed names or, of course, are not around anymore. Just give us a little history lesson.
Start with the most favorite club, and I think all bands will concur with me on this one. Second Chance in Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah.
Three-tier audience, and actually a fourth one, which was, where the lighting tech would be. But just the acoustics, the brick and the oak, Half Moon stage, everybody could see band properly. It was just an amazing room, and that one was, we would play there as much as we possibly could. John was the manager there, he was the manager. I can't think of his last name. Wonderful man, took real good care of us. That and Studio Lounge in Westland was another really great club. Small, but really we had a good time.
Did you guys get to play the Grandy Ballroom?
No, we never played the Grandy. We did play Masonic Temple. I'll never forget that show. We opened. I'm looking at my list here. I know I forgot. Oh, Joe Cocker. We opened for Joe Cocker. But I got to tell you this little funny story. So we did our set, had a really good time, and my brother was with me, Philip. I said, let's sneak around to the side of the stage. So we did that, and we saw the stairs going up to the catwalk. Mm-hmm. And I go, there's nobody around. Let's get up on top of these guys, and nobody will see us, because of the balance of the stage is going to cover that. So we go up there. I'll tell you what, they came out. Joe didn't come out yet. The girls came out to sing. Right. The band was playing. It was a real funky open. It was really cool, and you could hear the whole stage start coming alive when the monitor guy was starting to bring it all in, you know. And my brother's a musician too, and he says, "Oh, listen to that." And I go, "Oh, I know, man, isn't it great?" And so we're just sharing that moment, and I go, "Where's Joe at?" Like this was vamping on a little too long, right? So he comes out, and he's kind of, you know, staggering just a little bit, you know, just, you know, kind of weaving out there. And then, so he's standing next to the girls, and I'll never forget this. That vamp went on for another 20 seconds or so, which is a long time in music world. Right. So they're still playing, and he's just standing there, and one of the girls, nobody could see this but me and my brother, one of the girls elbows him in the side, like, start. And I'm not kidding you. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and as soon as she hit him, he started. It was right on cue. I'm going, oh no, I don't know what I just saw, but it was really weird. My brother, what just happened? I go, well, I think Joe was a little sleepy or something.
Or had a little too much to drink.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't want to, you know, accuse anybody, but he, you know, the road can do some strange things.
Oh, of course, of course.
But what I loved about it was being a drummer. It was right on cue. Right. I'm not kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that word came right out of his mouth, whatever song it was.
Now, did you guys ever, back in the early days, or when you were doing it, you know, had recorded the song Sandman and all that, shop it to any of the major labels?
We had a lot of management come into Detroit to view the band for that reason, to get a signed deal. And we worked with DMA, Nick Karras and Dave Leone. They were the proprietors of DMA, Diversified Management Agency. Mm-hmm. They worked real hard, keeping us booked. You know, it was our living, so we played a lot. But yeah, they would fly in, and we'd take care of them when they came in. Management companies, Head East manager, I did tons of managers that came in. Yeah, so we were being shopped by DMA, and finally we got a bite from a gentleman in Chicago where we played a lot as well. We played a lot of places. There's another really good club that I want to mention that one of these days I'd like to at least meet him and say hello to him, tell him how much I respect him. Is Danny Seraphin from Chicago. He got the raw deal on that, but you know what? He might have had his own downfall, and whatever that story is, that's his own private story. Right. But he owned a club in Schaumburg, Illinois called Beginnings, and it was like the second chance of Chicago. It was that kind of, you didn't play till like 11 o'clock, and that's it. It was one show. You'd be done by 12:30. But yeah, it had a secondary stage viewing area, you know, like a second deck. Right. And you could see the band real well. So that was cool. I never got to meet him. And then we did a record release party at Jaggers in Pontiac with another band that after Salem was done, I went into a band called The Front. And if you remember a band called Mariah, 2 members from Mariah and members of Salem, and we joined forces. And so we became a band called The Front. Anyway, we had another record, and it was called Make Believe, and it's sort of another ballad for some reason. But anyway, it was a really great song. And we were doing a record release. Riff was doing their Riff party there, and it was packed. I hired a really great sax player to play the sax line in the song. I brought 2 females in to do backing vocals. I brought in one of the best sound men in Detroit, Glenn Preston. He was out with Cheap Trick for many years. Yeah, so he was a great front of house guy. So all stops were out on that show, and it was so crowded, and Jaggers had a little tiny room to go to. So when I was done with our first set, we only played 2 long sets. When I was done, I went into that little room, and I just kind of hung out in there because it was just crazy. You know, it was like I wanted to stay focused on the show because it was getting recorded and stuff. So we get done, and then Glenn comes up to me aftermath, and just a mess in there. He goes, "You know who was here?" And I go, "No, who?" He goes, "Glenn Fry and Danny Seraphin." I go, "Get out." You know, I was just melted. I go, "Oh man, I wished I hadn't hung out in that little room." But they came in, they were just going around Detroit, but they heard about the record release and the rep party and all that stuff. So
thank you for taking your time to talk to me today. It's been a real pleasure hearing your stories. I could talk to you for hours. I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary. I'm just going to end this by saying this has been Jimmy Jive with Motor City Rock Talk. My guest today has been drummer from the legendary Salem Witchcraft, Mo O'Shaughnessy. So keep her out.